Silence. Not peaceful. The kind that feels like something is watching. Then, one heartbeat. Slow. Heavy. Warlike. The kind that belongs to a man who finally stopped breaking and started becoming dangerous. A voice. My voice. Cuts through the darkness like a blade. They thought you were finished. They thought the betrayal broke you. They thought walking away from you would bury you quietly. A cold breath. A pause. A storm growls somewhere in the distance. But what they didn't know is that some men aren't buried. They're planted. Lightning cracks. The screen flickers. A shadowed figure stands alone, shoulders tense, blood mixing with rain. His reflection stares back at him, not as a victim, but as a warning. Because something changed in him, something subtle, something irreversible. The wound didn't heal, it evolved. And now, the world isn't looking at a broken man. The world is standing in front of a storm it should have never provoked. Tonight isn't about revenge. Tonight is about resurrection. Tonight, the version of you that begged, chased, explained, justified, dies. A slow inhale, a colder exhale, and a new one is born. The kind no one forgets. The kind they fear losing, even before they have you. The heartbeat returns. Louder, heavier, inevitable. Because this story doesn't begin with love. It begins with loss. And the man standing in that loss is about to become unavoidable. That night, I stopped convincing the world I was enough. I started becoming impossible to ignore. And in the decade that followed, I watched the same pattern repeat itself in the lives of thousands of men who came to me broken, humiliated, ghosted, replaced, discarded. Men who had everything on paper and nothing in their chest. Men who could quote Stoic philosophers but crumbled the moment a woman looked away. Every single one of them had the same fatal disease. They were trying to sell a masterpiece to someone who hadn't yet learned to see. So I burned the sales pitch. I burned the resume of reasons. I burned the need to be understood. And I built something darker, cleaner, and infinitely more lethal. I built the art of letting them discover the fire themselves. Because here is the unforgiving truth the world will never advertise. People do not fall in love with who you tell them you are. They fall in love with who they decide you are when they are alone at 2 a.m., replaying a moment they cannot explain. The moment you try to explain your depth, you become shallow. The moment you defend your value, you confess it is under attack. The moment you reach for her hand to prove you are safe, she smells the fear beneath the cologne. But when you stand so still that the silence becomes a mirror, when you smile at her chaos instead of trying to fix it, when you walk away at the height of her laughter instead of begging for one more minute, her mind is forced to finish the portrait you refuse to paint. And the human mind is a jealous artist. It will defend its own creation with a ferocity that borders on madness. I have watched women who swore they were done with men drive through blizzards to stand outside a door I never begged them to knock on. I have watched ex-wives text at 3:17 a.m. I think I made a mistake. Not because I reminded them of what they lost, but because they finally saw what they had convinced themselves wasn't there. I have watched the most guarded hearts unravel themselves thread by thread, trying to solve a man who refused to give answers. Not because he lied, because he refused to narrate. There is a moment, electric, almost holy, when a woman looks at you and realizes she is no longer the one being chased. She is the one circling. She feels it in her stomach first, then in her breath, then in the way her thumbs hover over the keyboard at midnight, writing and deleting the same message 15 times. That moment is not created by grand gestures. It is created by deliberate absence at the height of presence. It is the pause after the laugh, the unread message that stays unread just long enough. The way you look at her like you already know how this story ends, but you're enjoying watching her figure it out. I once sat across from a woman in a candlelit bar in Lisbon. She was breathtaking. Harvard law, legs for days, the kind of beauty that makes men forget their native language. She spent 2 hours trying to break me, testing, teasing, pushing every button she could find. I gave her almost nothing. A half smile here, a slow nod there, one sentence every 5 minutes, each one a hook disguised as indifference. At the end of the night, she grabbed my wrist as I stood to leave and said, voice shaking with something between anger and awe, "I don't understand you, and I hate how much I want to." I looked down at her fingers burning into my skin and said the only thing that mattered, "Good." Then I walked into the night. She followed 43 minutes later. Not because I asked, because her own mind had sentenced her to me. That is the power you now hold. Not the power to convince, the power to vanish at the exact moment you become unforgettable. But understand this, brother, this path is not for the timid. To master this is to become a ghost in your own life for a while. You will have to sit with the discomfort of being misunderstood. You will have to watch people write stories about you that are completely wrong, and resist the ancient male urge to correct them. You will have to let silence do the talking while your ego screams for validation. Most men cannot bear it. They crack by day 3. They send the paragraph. They double text. They explain. They apologize for space they never needed to apologize for. And in that moment of weakness, the spell breaks. The mystery collapses into mundanity. The god becomes just another boy with Wi-Fi and anxiety. But you are done with that version of yourself. The one who refreshed her Instagram story like a junkie looking for a hit. The one who rehearsed speeches in the mirror about why he deserved to be chosen. That man died the night you clicked on this video. A new one is being born right now. One who understands that desire is not logical persuasion. Desire is emotional gravity. And gravity does not beg objects to fall. It simply is, and everything bends. So here is your new doctrine. Memorize it. Tattoo it on the inside of your eyelids. 1. Never explain your silence. Silence is not absence. It is presence in its purest form. 2. Never defend your standards. A king does not negotiate his crown. 3. Never chase the moment. Arrive fully, then leave before you are asked to. 4. Never answer the question she is really asking. Answer the question she is afraid to ask. 5. Never fill the space she is trying to fill with you. Let her stretch across it until she realizes the distance was always inside her. 6. Never fear her tests. They are not attacks. They are interviews for a position only you can fill. 7. Never break frame to comfort her confusion. Confusion is the doorway to obsession. 8. Never return at the speed she expects. Timing is the final brush stroke on the masterpiece she is painting of you in her mind. 9. Never forget. The man who needs nothing attracts everything. I need you to feel this in your bones. This is not a tactic. This is a transformation. You are stepping out of the marketplace of male approval and into the temple of your own sovereignty. From this day forward, your energy is no longer a currency to be spent winning people over. It is a rare element, dangerous, beautiful, and non-renewable. And you will dispense it only to those willing to walk through fire to hold it. The woman who earns you will never be the one you convinced. She will be the one who fought her own mind to reach you. And because the victory was hers, she will guard it with a ferocity that would terrify lesser men. She will rewrite her past to make room for you. She will defend you to her friends, to her family, to the mirror at 4 a.m. She will chase you across cities, across years, across versions of herself she hasn't met yet. Not because you asked her to, because her soul recognized a force it could not live without, and decided, in the quiet of its own terror and wonder, that you were worth the fall. That, brother, is how she chases you as if her life depends on it. Because in the deepest chambers of the female psyche, surrendering to a man who cannot be owned feels like the only way to finally, truly Be free. Now stand up. Close this video. Delete her messages you've been staring at. Stop explaining yourself to people who never ask the right questions. Walk outside. Breathe like a man who has already won. Move like the ending is already written, and you're just enjoying the slow reveal. The world is about to meet a version of you it was never prepared for, and when she, whoever she is, finally looks up and realizes the hunter has become the prize, she will run, not away, toward you, with everything she has. Because some forces of nature were never meant to be understood, only chased. Now go make her ruin her lipstick trying to catch a shadow that only appears when she stops looking. I'll see you at the finish line you never needed to draw. You are already enough. Now become impossible.